Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay, this is from Bitter Winter. Scientology, secular courts, and disconnection fair game policies. 3. The origins of disconnection. Dated 11/12/2022 from Massimo Introving. In the mid-1960s, Hubbard introduced a policy asking Scientologists to disconnect from friends or relatives, exhibiting a strong hostility to Scientology. The guy with the pink shirt lived a normal life until he met a suppressive person, pointing a finger at him in the central image, and became a potential trouble source. From the Scientology handbook. Imagine this, you guys. Imagine this is like what they're teaching them. I believe, and I can't zoom it enough. I wish I could zoom this more. It looks like maybe a Freemasonic handshake. Thumb over the pulse. The word is out that they're going to fire you. And you know you can't get sick, right? Even though the so-called leader has really bad asthma. In the previous article in the series, I introduced the distinction Scientology makes between suppressive persons, SP, who are Scientologists, who try to destroy Scientology. Is that us versus them, just like the Pink Floyd song, Us and Them. And potential trouble source, PTS, i.e., those Scientologists who remain in contact with SP in the HCO. If you guys go and watch that video I shared, what was it called? I think the name of the guy that did that whole expose on Scientology, Streets was in there, Serge Delmar was in there, Mark Bunker. Anyways, I'm pretty sure they did a whole piece on the HCO building. I could be wrong. HCO seems right. HCO policy letter of October 27th, 1964, which I discussed in the previous article. Hubbard wrote that PTS should not be accepted for auditing by any organization or auditor. And also, too, you guys, this just shows that the policies 100% can be used to prove laws have been broken. It's so easy. It was thus proposed to solve the problem by simply excluding these threatening sources for auditing. Later, it was felt that this was not enough. In the HCO policy letter of December 23, 1965, Hubbard included the definition of potential trouble source. It is defined as a person who, while active in Scientology or a PC, pretty clear, like a child, yet remains connected to a person or group that is a suppressive person or group. We could just, instead of using suppressive person, just say enemy. Just like the people who were forced to wear yellow stars in Germany. It's the same thing. In this 1965 letter, the policy for handling PTS was spelled out in more details. Not only they may receive no processing until the situation is handled, but they were told if they wished to remain in Scientology that they had to either reform the SPs they were in touch with or disconnect from them. A Scientologist connected by familial or other ties to a person who is guilty of suppressive acts. Who do you guys know that would be able to create a whole new government? Things to think about. Hubbard wrote is known as a potential trouble source or trouble source. The history of Dianetics and Scientology is strewn with these confused by emotional ties. Dogged in refusing to give up Scientology, yet invalidated by a suppressive person. At every turn they cannot have a PTP, present time problem, making case gains. If they would act with determination one way or the other, reform the suppressive person or disconnect, they could then make gains and recover their potential. If they make no determined move, they eventually succumb. It was entirely clear to Hubbard that this may involve disconnecting from one's spouse or another close relative. This policy letter of December 23, 1965, he wrote, extends to suppressive non-Scientology, wives and husbands and parents, or other family members or hostile groups, or even close friends. Huh. Not children, huh? Hubbard didn't seem to know how to use that word, did he? So long as a wife or husband, father or mother, or other family connection like a child, who is attempting to suppress the Scientology spouse or child, he used it, or hostile group remains continually acknowledged or in communication with the Scientology spouse or child or member, then that Scientologist or pre-clear comes under the family or adherent clause and may not be processed or further trained until he or she has taken appropriate action to cease to be a potential trouble source. Little do they know what a gift that is. Hubbard's preferred solution was dialogue. The relative or friend should approach the SP and try to reform her by persuading her to cease the anti-Scientology activities. He urged that the Scientologist would be well advised to fully inform the person he or she accuses of suppressive acts of the substance of this policy letter and seek a reform of the person, disconnecting only when honest efforts to reform the person have not been cooperated with or have failed, and only then disconnecting publicly. Disconnect from Scientology, not from your family. Disconnection is used by anti-cultists as a critical argument against Scientology. Falls on deaf ears. However, in the system instituted by the 1965 letter, when efforts at reform failed, disconnection should be public. Disconnection from a family member or cessation of adherence to a suppressive person or group. The letter prescribed is done by the potential trouble source, publicly publishing the fact, as in the legal notices of the auditor, in public announcements, and taking any required civil action, such as a disavowal, separation, or divorce. Oh, look at all the divorces that they force people to have. And thereafter, cutting all further communication and disassociating from the person or group. Hubbard was surely conscious of the radical nature of these provisions, although the PTS also had the option of remaining in contact with the SP, relative, and leave Scientology, but claimed that they were necessary for saving Scientology and ultimately humanity itself. The greatest good for the greatest number of dynamics, Hubbard explained, requires that actions destructive of the advance of the many by Scientology means overtly or covertly undertaken with the direct target of destroying Scientology as a whole. We can only hope, right? Or a Scientologist in particular be summarily handled. Handled like a child. Handled. Due to the character of the reactive mind. They should just change reactive mind to thinking mind. And the consequent impulses of the insane or near insane to ruin every chance of mankind via Scientology. 2 clarifications should be included. The first is that most radical policies only applied when an SP was trying to suppress or destroy Scientology. The case of an SP that was hurting an individual Scientologist without greater schemes of destroying the church was handled differently. According to a policy letter of July 19, 1965, there are instances met with by ethics officers, especially in relation to husbands and wives, where there may be suppressions or individual people, but not suppressive of Scientology. In such cases, a separation order for a specific period of time is the best action. For example, Joe S. and Mary S. are hereby placed under a separation order while Joe is undergoing processing. They are to have no contact with each other during this period from date blank to blank. In this case, the safety of Scientology was not at stake, only the individual well-being of the single Scientologist. Accordingly, a temporary separation was regarded as sufficient. The second clarification concerns the disconnection letters. Some PTS who decided to disconnect with their SPs decided to write these letters figure prominently in the anti-Scientology literature. Scientology admitted they had been really written. In the 1978 edition of the book, What is Scientology, page 204, we read that disconnection was the action of helping persons to become exterior from circumstances or people that suppress them. Yeah, just get out of Scientology. That'll all be solved. At one time between 1966 through 1968, this was done by formally writing a letter, which in some cases caused upsets. However, writing letters of disconnection seem to have derived from overzealous PTS, or perhaps their auditors, like the child auditors, and was contrary to Hubbard's instructions. Publishing the disconnection for Hubbard meant placing a legal notice in a Scientology publication or in the appropriate venue in case of separation or divorce. Not only was writing letters not mentioned, it was explicitly discouraged. Although a short technical bulletin of July 20th, 1966, may also be interpreted as a prohibition to write disconnection letters until the SP had been clearly identified. It hints at Hubbard's dislike of these letters in general. It has been revealed at St. Hill, the bulletin stated that HGC, Hubbard Guidance Center, auditors, I wonder if there were children auditors there, and review auditors, and permitting their pre-clears to be sent through the ethics, like the children, for writing disconnection letters to any person or group which the pre-clear thinks to have been suppressive of him. This is improper. These original statements about disconnection will be reformed several times in subsequent years, as we will see in the next article of this series. I will leave a link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. Otherwise, have an amazing day or night wherever you are. Peace.